Chapter 3. Meanwhile, the desire to express myself grew. The few signs one used, the few signs I used became less and less adequate, and my failures to make myself understood were invariable, followed by outbursts of passion. I felt as if invisible hands were holding me, and I made frantic efforts to free myself. I struggled, not that struggling helped matters, but the spirit of resistance was strong with, within me. I generally broke down in tears and physical exhaustion. If my mother happened to be near, I crept into her arms, to my several, even to remember the cause of the tempest. After a while, the need of some means of communication became so urgent that these outbursts occurred daily, sometimes hourly. My parents were deeply grieved and perplexed. We lived alone, away from any school for the blind or the deaf, and it seemed unlikely that anyone would come to such an out of the way place as Tuscumbia to teach a child who was both deaf and blind. Indeed, my friends and relatives sometimes thought I could be taught. My mother's only ray of hope came from Dickens' American Notes. She had read his account of Laura Brickman and remembered vaguely that she was deaf and blind, yet had been educated. But she also remembered with a hopeless pang that Dr. Howard, who had discovered the way to teach the deaf and blind, had been dead many years. His methods had probably died with him. And if they had not, how was a little girl in a far off town in Alabama to receive the benefit of them? When I was about 6 years old, my father heard of an eminent occultist in Baltimore who had been successful in many cases that had seemed hopeless. My parents at once determined to take me to Baltimore to see if anything could be done for my eyes. The journey, which I remember well, was very pleasant. I made friends with many people on the train. One lady gave me a box of shells. My father made holes in these so that I could string them, and for a long time they kept me happy and contented. The conductor, too, was kind. Often when he went his rounds, I clung to his coat tails while he called and punched the tickets. His punch, with which he let me play, was a delightful toy. Curled up in a corner of the seat, I amused myself for hours making funny little holes in bits of cardboard. My aunt made me my aunt made me a big doll out of towels. It was the most comical, shapeless thing. This improvised doll with no nose, mouth, ears, or eyes. Nothing that even the imagination of a child could convert into a face. Curiously enough, the absence of eyes struck me more than all the other defects put together. I point this out to everybody with provoking persistency, but no one seemed equal to the task of providing the doll with eyes. A bright idea, however, shot into my mind, and the problem was solved. I tumbled off the seat and searched under it until I found my aunt's cave, which was trimmed with large beads. I pulled two beads off and indicated to her that I wanted her to suit them on my doll. She raised my hand to her eyes in a questioning way, and I nodded energetically. The beads were sewed in the right place, and I could not contain myself for joy. But immediately I lost all interest in the doll. During the whole trip, I did not have one fit of temper. There were so many things to keep my mind and fingers busy. When we arrived in Baltimore, Dr. Criswell received us kindly, but he could do nothing. He said, however, that I could be educated and advised my father to consult Dr. Alexander Graham Bell of Washington, who would be able to give him information about school and teachers of deaf or blind children. Acting on the doctor's advice, we went immediately to Washington to see Dr. Bell. My father with a sad heart and many misgivings. I wholly a cousins of his anguish, finding pleasure in the excitement of moving from place to place. Child as I was, it at once felt the tenderness and sympathy which inspired Dr. Bell to so many hearts, as his wonderful achievements enlisted their admiration. He held me on his knee while I examined his watch, and he made it straight for me. He understood my signs. I knew it and loved him at once, but it did not bring that interview will be the door through which I should pass from darkness into light, from insulation to friendship, companionship, knowledge, love. Dr. Bell advised my father to write to Mr. Anagnos, director of the Perkins Institutions in Boston, the sense of Dr. Howard Reed, Labor for the Blind, and ask him if he had a teacher competent to begin my education. This my father did at once, and in a few weeks there came a kind letter from Mr. Anagnos with the comforting assurance that a teacher had been found. This was in the summer of 1888, but Miss Sullivan did not arrive until the following March. Thus I came up out of Egypt and stood before Sinai, and I power divine touched my spirit and gave it sight, so that I beheld many wonders. And from the great mountain I heard a voice which said, knowledge is love and light and vision. Chapter 4. The most important day I remember in all my life is the one of which my teacher, Annie Mansfield Sullivan, came to me. I'm filled with wonder when I consider the immeasurable contrast between the two lights which it connects. It was there it lives. I consider the immeasurable contrast between the two lives which it connects. It was the 3rd of March 1888, 3 months before I was 7 years old. On the afternoon of the eventful day, I stood on the porch, dumb, expectant. I guessed vaguely from my mother's signs and from the hurry to and fro in the house that something unusual was about to happen. So I went to the door and waited on the steps. The afternoon sun penetrated the mask of honeysuckle that covered the porch and fell on my upturned face. My finger lingered almost unconsciously on the familiar lips and blossom which had just come forth to greet the sweet southern spring. I did not know what the future held of marvel or surprise for me. Anger and bitterness had preyed upon me continually for weeks, and I did longer had succeeded this passionate struggle. Had you ever been at sea in a dense fog when it seemed as if a tangible white darkness should you in, and the great ship, tense and anxious, rubbed her head way, rubbed her way to toward, rubbed her way toward the shore with plummet and shouting line, and you waited with beating heart for something to happen. I was like that ship before my education began. Only I was without compass or sounding line, and had no way of knowing how near the harbor was. Lie, give me lie, was the wondrous cry of my soul, and the light of blood shone on me in that very hour. I felt approaching footsteps. I stretched out my hand as I supposed to my mother. Someone took it, and I was caught up and held close in the arms of her who had come to reveal all things to me, and more than all things else, to love me. The morning after my teacher came, she led me into her room and gave me a doll. The little blind children at the Perkins institution had seen it, and Laura Bigman and had dressed it, but I did not know this until afterward. When I had played with it a little while, Miss Sullivan slowly spelled into my hand the word DOLL. It was at once interested in this finger play and tried to imitate it. When I finally succeeded in making the letters correctly, I was flushed with childish pleasure and pride. Running downstairs to my mother, I held up my hand and made the letters for doll. I did not know that I was spelling a word or even that word existed. I was simply making my fingers gooey monkey like imitation. In the days that followed, I learned to spell in this uncomprehending way a great many words. Amon, then pin, head, cup, and a few verbs like sit, stand, and walk. But my teacher had been with me several weeks before I understood that everything has a name. One day, while I was playing with my new doll, Miss Sullivan put my big rag doll into my lap also, spelled Doll, and tried to make me understand that Doll applied to the both. Earlier in the day, we said had a tussle over the words MUG and WATER. Miss Sullivan had tried to impress it upon me that MUG is milk and that WATER is weather, but I persist in confounding the two. In despair, she had dropped the subject for the time, only to renew it at the first opportunity. I became impatient at her repeated attempts, and setting the new doll, I dashed it upon the floor. I was keenly delighted when I found the fragments of the broken doll at my feet. Neither sorrow nor regret followed my passionate outbursts. I had not loved the doll. In the still, dark world in which I lived, there was no strong sentiment or tenderness. I felt my teacher sweep the fragments to one side of the heart, and I had a sense of satisfaction that the cause of my discomfort was removed. She brought me my head, and I knew I was going out into the warm sunshine. This thought, if a wanderlust sensation may be called and thought, made me hop and skip with pleasure. We walked down the path to the well house, attracted by the fragrance of the honeysuckle with which it was covered. Someone was drawing water, and my teacher placed my hand under the spout. As the cool stream gushed over one hand, she fell into the other deadward water, first slowly, then rapidly. I stood still, my whole attention fixed upon the motions of her fingers. Suddenly I felt a misty consciousness as of something forgotten, a trail of returning thought, and somehow the mystery of language was revealed to me. I knew then that WATER, weather, meant the wonderful cool something that was flowing over my hand. That living word awakened my soul, giving it life, hope, joy, set it free. There were barriers still, is it true, but barriers that could in time be swept away. I left the wild house eager to learn. Everything had a name, and each name gave birth to a new thought. As we returned to the house, every object which I touched seemed to quiver with life. That was because I saw everything with the strange new sight that had come to me. On entering the door, I remembered the doll I had broken. I felt my way to the hearth and picked up the piece. I tried vainly to put them together. Then my eyes filled with tears, for I realized what I had done, and for the first time I felt repentance and sorrow. I learned and read many new words that day. I do not remember what they all were, but I don't know that mother, father, sister, teacher were among them. Words that were to make the world blossom for me, like errant rods with flowers. It would have been difficult to find a happier child than I was as I lay in my crib at the close of that eventful day and lied and leaped over the joys it had brought me, and for the first time longed for a new day to come. Chapter 5. I recall many incidents of the summer of 1887 that followed my soul's sudden awakening. I did nothing but explore with my hands and learn the name of every object that I touched. And the more I handled things and learned their names and uses, the more joyous and confident grew my sense of kinship with the rest of the world. When the times of daisies and buttercups came, Miss Sullivan took me by the hand across the fields where men were preparing to earth for the seed, to the banks of the Tennessee River, and there, sitting on the warm grass, I had my first lessons in the beneficence of nature. I learned how the sun and the rain make to grow out the ground every tree that is pleasant to the sight and good for good. How birds build their nets and live and thrive from land to land. How the squirrel, the deer, the lion, and every other creature finds food and shelter. As my knowledge of things grew, I felt more and more the delight of the world I was in. Long before I learned to do a sum in arithmetic or describe the shape of the earth, Miss Sullivan had taught me to find beauty in the fragrant woods, in every blade of grass, and in the curves and dimples of my baby sister, Hen. She linked my early thoughts with nature and made me feel that birds and flowers and I were happy peers. But about this time I had an experience which taught me that nature is not always kind. One day my teacher and I were returning from a long ramble. The morning had been fine, but it was growing warm and sultry when at last we turned our face homeward. 2 or 3 times we stopped to rest under a tree by the wayside. Our last halt was under a wild cherry tree a short distance from the house. The shade was grateful, and the tree was so easy to climb that with my teacher's assistance I was able to scramble to a seat in the branches. It was so cool up in the tree that Miss Sullivan proposed that we have our luncheon there. I promised to keep still while she went to the house to fetch it. Suddenly a change passed over the tree. All the sun's warmth left the earth. I knew the sky was black because all the heat which men lied to me had died out of the atmosphere. A strange odor came up from the earth. I knew it. It was the odor that always preceded a thunderstorm, and a nameless fear clutched at my heart. I felt absolutely alone, cut off from my friends and the thin air. The immense and the unknowns enfolded me. I remained still and expectant, and chilling terror crept over me. I longed for my teacher's returns, but above all things I wanted to get down from that tree. There was a moment of sinister silence, then a multitudinous stirring of the leaves. A shiver ran through the tree, and the wind sent forth a blast that would have gnawed me off had I not clung to the branch with my main. The tree smiled and the strained the small twigs snapped and fell about me in showers. A wild impulse to jump seized me, but terror held me fast. I crouched down in the fur of the tree. The branches lashed about me. I felt the imminent, intermittent jarring that came now and then, as if something heavy had fallen on the and the snout, and the shock had traveled up till it reached the climb it sat on. It worked my suspense up to the highest point, and just as I was thinking the tree and I should fall together, my teacher seized my hand and helped me down. I clung to her, trembling with joy to feel the earth under my feet once more. I had learned a new lesson. The nature waits open wide against her children, and under soft touch hides treacherous clouds. After this experience, it was a long time before I climbed another tree. The mere thought filled me with terror. It was the sweet allurement of the mimosa tree in full bloom that finally overcame my fears. One beautiful spring morning, when I was alone in the summer house reading, I became aware of a wonderful subtle fragrance in the air. I stood up and instinctively stretched out my hands. It seemed as if the spirit of spring had passed through the summer house. What is it? I asked, and the next minute I recognized the odor of the mimosa blossom. I felt my way to the end of the garden, knowing that the mimosa tree was near the fence. At the turn of the path, yes, there it was, all quivering in the warm sunshine, its blossom-laden branches almost touching the long grass. Was there ever anything so exquisitely beautiful in the world before? Its delicate blossoms ran from the slightest earthly touch. It seemed as if a tree of paradise had been transplanted to earth. I made my way through a shower of petals to the great throne and for 1 minute stood irresolute. Then, pouring my foot in the broad space between the forked branches, I pulled myself out into the tree. I had some difficulty in holding on, for the branches were very large and the bark hurt my hands. But I had the delicious sense that I was doing something unusual and wonderful, so I kept on climbing higher and higher until I reached a little seat which somebody had built there so long ago that it had grown part of the tree itself. I sat there for a long, long time, feeling like a fairy on a rosy cloud. After that, I spent many happy hours in my tree of paradise, thinking fair thoughts and dreaming bright dreams.